Welcome, fellow lovers of the weird and strange. This is Lance, your host of Legends of the Hidden Horde, where we explore the folklore behind the mythical creatures that stalk the dark corners of our globe. A huge thank you to all of you for tuning in. Your ears make these strange journeys possible. If you enjoy the show, please hit that subscribe button, leave me a quick review, and give me a follow on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or X. Your support truly makes a difference. Now, let's dive into the next story. The rains of the Guyanese interior never truly stop. They only pause long enough for the forest to remember its own silence. On the ancestral lands of the Kalina, the Wayana, and the Tico, and so many other first peoples whose roots reach deeper than any colonial map, the Creole stories of the Baclou took shape. These tales grew from African memory, from the hard-won knowledge of the Busaninga who fled the plantations from the quiet presence of Jewish merchants in the old days, and from the living forest itself. This is episode 41, the Baclou. The Baclou is not an indigenous spirit. It is a Creole creation, born of contact and survival, and it is told here with that clear boundary respected. Listen then, as the old ones still tell it, when the fromage trees stand black against the moon. There was a man named Etienne who kept a small shop on the edge of a riverside settlement along the Maroni. He sold rice, oil, secondhand tools, and the kind of cheap liquor that burns the throat clean. Business was thin. The gold camps further inland paid better wages than his shelves ever could. One Easter season, when the air smelled of wet earth and the river ran high, an older relative spoke of the old way. Not as a joke, not as a warning, simply as a fact that still walked the night. You take a fresh egg, the relative said, voice low. Keep it under the arm for 7 days. Speak the words that have no Christian name. On Good Friday, it will open. What comes out is yours, but you must feed it. You must give it work, or it will take its own. Etienne did not believe, not at first. Yet the hunger for more than survival is a quiet fire. He performed that ritual in the dark of his storeroom. The egg grew warm against the skin. On the 7th night, it cracked with a sound like wet wood splitting. What emerged was no larger than a toddler, yet the face was wrong, swollen, pig-snouted in one telling, dog-mouthed in another, always glistening as if coated in river slime. The feet pointed backward. That detail never changes. The creature looked up at him with eyes that held no childhood, only waiting. Etienne named it nothing. He kept it in a green glass bottle sealed with wax and placed beneath the shop counter. He set the rules. It would eat raw fish and chicken blood, never the flesh of children. It would make the shop prosper. It would harm no one unless ordered. For a time, the pact held. Customers came, money stayed. Neighbors began to murmur the old phrase, "You must keep a Baclou under the register." The creature obeyed. At night, Etienne sometimes heard the soft, rapid footfalls on the corrugated roof, running, always running, as if testing the limits of the bottle's command. Once he called its name 3 times beneath the fromage, whose buttress roots rose like the ribs of some buried giant. The tree is sacred across many communities here. The Aluku still perform ceremonies before any are felled. The Wayana carve their maluana from its wood. Creole and Maroon alike leave offerings at its base. The Baclou appear among the roots, smaller than a child, face glistening, feet reversed, and simply waited for their next order. Years passed. Wealth accumulated. Etienne married. A daughter was born. He grew careful. He never ordered the creature to kill. He only ordered success, protection, the quiet removal of competitors. Through bad luck and sudden debts, edge cases began to surface in the wider land. In Apatow in 2011, 3 men beat another nearly to death because they believed he had sent a Baclou against a newborn. In schools across the area, clusters of students fell into contagious panic, screaming, running, claiming the little vicious one was among them. Teachers called it mass hysteria. The students called it Christ de Baclou. The stories traveled the river faster than any boat. Etienne's daughter grew. She was bright, curious, and one evening she found the bottle. She did not open it. She only asked why the glass felt warm. Etienne lied. The Baclou, sensing the lie or the lapse in attention, began to demand more. The fish in blood no longer satisfied. It scratched the inside of the bottle until the glass sang. It appeared in dreams as a child with reversed feet, asking for the daughter's name. Etienne tried to reassert control. He recited the old words. He threatened to smash the bottle and scatter the pieces in the river. The creature only smiled with its wrong mouth. One night the shop burned. Not completely, just enough to destroy the ledgers and the counter. The bottle survived, blackened but intact. Etienne fled upriver with his family, believing distance would break the bond. The Baclou followed. It does not need roads. It moves through the fromager and the mango trees, through the collective fear that still rises in classrooms when the air grows heavy. In the end, Etienne tried to return the creature to the egg, to the ritual reversed. The forests do not allow such neat endings. The last anyone reliably told of him was that he walked into the undergrowth one dusk carrying a small green bottle, and the footfalls on the leaves that night were too many for one man alone. The Baclou remains, not everywhere, not always, but when a business prospers too quickly, when a school falls into sudden screaming, when someone hears running on the roof at 3 a.m, the old phrase returns. The creature is still only as evil as the will that feeds it. That is the most frightening part of the folklore. It is not a free demon. It is a servant that outlasts the master. The Baclou teaches that every power obtained by binding another will, whether spirit, labor, or living system, carries a compound interest measured in souls. The lesson is not that magic is real, but that human hunger for control is ancient and unchanging. We create servants that promise wealth and protection, then discover they require constant feeding and eventually claim the very futures we hope to secure. In an age where artificial systems are trained to fulfill desires at any cost, when forests older than nations are treated as resources rather than relations, the Baclou stands as a quiet warning from the Guyanese night. The bottle is never truly sealed. What we command today will name its own price tomorrow, and the ones who inherit the debt may no longer remember the original bargain. The future implication is simple and severe. If we continue to birth entities that exist only to serve our ends, we must also accept that they will one day demand ends of their own. And the lands and peoples who first taught us to listen to the forest will again bear the earliest costs. That's it for the story of the Baclou. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Give me a follow on social media. And until next time, keep your eyes open. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows.